to have momentum on his side as he goes for 3 wins in a row. He's chased down road course veterans before, scoring a victory at Portland last year. Today, he faces old shoes like Joe Ruttman, who's won 3 road course races in his truck career. And Rob Morgan, who's having a career year in the trucks, hopes to use his road racing skill to break through in the win column. This man, however, hopes to stand in Biffle's way. With 2 Truck Series victories here, Fellows is the shoe to beat.
What a difference 2 hours can make. Second practice, near disaster for points leader Greg Biffle. 2 hours later, it was Ron Fellows who was in serious trouble.
Well, Biffle, very quick in practice, goes out in the second session, makes a change to the truck, gets in the barrier coming up out of the S's. The Roush crew had to work flat out to get that truck ready for qualifying. Ron Fellows goes out on his first qualifying lap down into the inner loop. The brake pedal literally snaps off the truck. He wasn't going to make the show.
That's because they did not have any provisionals, so they leased the number 7 John Conley machine. They have literally been working on it last night and today. They've put it all together. They've kept the faith, but they've yet to turn a lap.
I have lots of faith in Brian Patty and all those guys. I mean, we've won races before here. We've had pretty good runs in everything we've run here, and I'm sure it'll be you know, certainly close enough for us to do our best for Bully Hill, and hopefully, yeah, hopefully we can get into the top 10. Who knows?
We changed the front springs, and I got 2 loose going up through the S's, and got out of shape there, and got the left rear tore it up on the guardrail, and tore it up pretty bad, but the guys worked really hard, got it back together quick. Everybody pitched in. The 99 guys came down and helped, and got it back together quick, and was a little unsure of it in qualifying because it was, you know, that was the first time I was back on the track with it, but I think we're okay.
Well, they weren't good in qualifying. They were awesome, and they took advantage of Ron Fellows' misfortunes, and they scored the pole. This team has so much momentum coming off of 2 wins. Now they're going for 3 in a row.
ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, and NASCAR 2000 today is live in the Finger Lake region of New York for round 13 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. It's the Bully Hill Vineyards 150 from Watkins Glen International. Take a look at the points championship race, and we have a dandy going. The top 4 are separated by no more than 94 points after 12 of 24 rounds of racing. Biffle on top. But today could be a different story. You're not trying to lose points rather than trying to gain, because this is our last road course race of the season. Let's take a look at our Mopar starting grid as the trucks are already out onto the track. And on the pole is 4th of the year, Greg Biffle, a new track record. Terry Cook, his best qualifying of the year, right alongside. In row number 2, it'll be Jack Sprague and Mike Wallace. And in row number 3, it'll be Joe Ruttman and Carlos Contreras. Those 6 all beat the old qualifying mark. Kurt Busch, Dennis Setzer will line up in row number 4. Then in row 5, Brian Reffner and Rick Crawford.
And row 6 is Rob Morgan, and Rick Corelli starts alongside in his Ford. Row 7, Randy Tolsma in the Dodge, Jimmy Hensley in his Chevrolet. Row number 8 is Andy Houston in the Chevrolet and Brad Bennett in his Chevrolet. Row number 9, Lance Norrick in the Chevrolet and Steve Grissom in the Dodge. Row 10, Marty Houston and Tom Carey in his Dodge.
Then as we move back to row 11, Andy Santerre making his first truck start. J.D. Gibbs in his second start. In row 12, Charles Morgan. That's Rob's father. More on him later on. Randy McDonald alongside. Scott Riggs in row 13. And there's Ron Fellows. He qualifies 26. Actually, the truck will move to the rear of the field, and that'll be fun to watch. Steve Prescott, Jeff Beck make up row number 14. Then in row 15, it's Randy Renfro and B.A. Wilson in on the provisionals. Ryan McGlynn, Tom Boston in row 16, and then Rick Ware and Wayne Edwards with a new sponsor, snagajob.com. And boy, that team's been looking for some help. Let's go to Dave. Let's get an update on Ron Fellows. Dave?
25-year-old Brian Patty led this team in 8 hours of work on the truck. They had to strip the one that they had tried to qualify and make it the John Conley-owned truck, and put all the parts, suspension, brakes, motor, everything on the John Conley-owned truck. Now, that truck does have a history. Before Conley bought it, 3 wins with Kurt Rohrig and Tony Raines. And so they think they might have a 4th win in it today. And Fellows, as you heard in the comment, is confident that his crew put together a good piece.
And you're on board right there. And now we're going to take a look at our race analysis, because it's 2.45 miles around this road course, 62 laps. The pit window between laps 25 and 30, the race record held by Ron Fellows. 11 total turns, most of them to the right, and the banking ranges from 6 to 10 degrees, and the purse over $430,000.
And we're carrying 3 on boards here, kind of starting at the front today. We've got Mike Wallace here in the Team ASE Ford. And Mike Wallace, of course, starting up on the 2nd row in the 4th position. And here is Joe Ruttman in the Dana Dodge, and he starts 5th on the 3rd row. And then our 3rd onboard camera, and this is probably going to be the most exciting of the 3, Ron Fellows, starts at the back of the field in the number 7 Chevrolet Bully Hill.
And if you notice, Joe Ruttman has fallen to the rear of the field as well. That's Joe right in front of Ron Fellows. Let's get an update. Amy, what's going on?
Well, just as soon as they started the trucks down here on pit lane, Joe Ruttman's truck did not fire. So instantly, Danny Gill and the crew got under the hood. They took off the air cleaner and found that there was a misfire in the carburetor. So manually, they got the squirters, getting the fuel into the carburetor, which did get the truck fired, but they are very concerned about a carburetor problem early in today's race.
Well, Amy, that's interesting, because they had been concerned with the carburetor in practice and qualifying. They were having problems with the carburetor cutting out on the right-hand corners. They would lose fuel, and it would lean out, and literally the motor would cut out. So they were talking about making float changes in that truck on the carburetor, and they must have done something to it, and it's just not right.
Well, they are making their way down towards turn 10. It's a hard left-hander, high speed. Some of the trucks taking it in 3rd gear, others in 2nd. Lights out on the pace truck. This time by, we'll be going racing here at Watkins Glen International, the front row. Biffle on the inside there in the Granger.com Ford. And Terry Cook looking to turn his season around. It got started off very well, but the last few weeks, I mean, it has just been one problem after another. This is a good beginning for him on the inside, or outside, I should say, of row number 1. Heading for turn number 11, and the pace truck should be pulling off this time by.
Keep in mind that more than half of this field will be in the middle of turn 11 when these guys up front go to the gas pedal.
Round 13 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series is green. Everybody going to survive turn 1? No. Jack Sprague gets turned around.
And he came together with Kurt Busch just as they were going out of our picture. I could see Sprague and Kurt Busch getting together, and so Sprague is the one that ends up turned around.
And your race leader is Greg Biffle, Terry Cook in 2nd. That's Andy Houston way in the back there in the Cat Reynolds Chevy. In through the inner loop for the first time, and boy, do these guys catch some air. Oh, no, Wayne Edwards has brushed the guardrail as well.
And that looks like it's coming up the hill out of the S's. Here's a look at Sprague's incident. And you can see there is Biffle, and Sprague gets turned around. And I saw him make contact with Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch had 2 wheels in the grass at one point down there. You can see that's where the big break is, behind Terry Cook. And, of course, you can see Refner there, everything stacked up behind Kurt Busch.
Sprague has finished no worse than 5th here in his career, but he's yet to win a road course race. Coming out of the outer loop, heading for turn 10. It's Greg Biffle.
He's telling him Sprague is last right now. So this is great news for Greg Biffle. Not too much pressure from Terry Cook right now.
In fact, those two have sort of checked out from 3rd place Kurt Busch. Then it's Carlos Contreras has moved up into 4th. Brian Refner has stepped it up to 5th. Mike Wallace fell back to 6th. On board with Ron Fellows. Now Fellows right now, we're showing in 26th position, but he's already picked off 1 because Charlie Morgan's right in front of him there. Charlie in the number 47 Axiom Ford has 2 wins in Camel Lights. He's about to get passed here by Fellows. Now, this has got to be scary for Fellows. I mean, he hasn't turned a lap in this truck.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you say, okay, they had problems, but he's never even driven this truck. So already now, up to about 25th. Now, out of the inner loop, down the hill here, through the outer loop. Look at this group of trucks in front. There is Joe Ruttman trying to work his way through these trucks.
Could that be an advantage if the two of them hook up, freight train it?
Well, the thing is, Joe Ruttman will be kind of, pushing and shoving. Now, you can see Joe's gotten caught up with one of the trucks here that he can't get around. Fellows has got to run here through turn 10, and will try and take a nice clean run through 11 here. You can see down to this apex, gets to the throttle, gets out onto the straightaway.
That's Andy Santerre right in front of Ruttman. This will be his best chance to get him down into turn 1. Meanwhile, there's Lance North, Brad Bennett, Steve Grissom. And Ruttman has gotten through. Look out, can Fellows make it work? He's trying to follow as well. And I think he's got it. Yes, he does.
So that will put Fellows up into 23rd position.
There's our race leader, Greg Biffle. He has opened up a 1.4-second lead over Terry Cook. Stay with us. We're back at the Bully Hill Vineyards 150 right after this. Biffle is leading as we have completed 4 of 62 laps. His margin is now about 2.4 seconds. The guys that we are keeping tabs on, Joe Ruttman and Ron Fellows, are working their way from the back of this field. They're in 20th and 21st. There's Terry Cook in 2nd place.
And Greg Biffle right now the only driver on the racetrack able to turn laps in the 1:15 range, albeit in the high 1:15s, but no one else able to run that quick, and that's where that lead is coming from. Right now sitting at about 2.5 seconds.
Let's get an update on Terry Cook. Amy?
Well, Terry Cook's feeling very comfortable in the truck right now. And an interesting story with this team is in their first practice yesterday, they were horrible. Nothing on that truck worked the way it was supposed to. They were very unprepared when the truck rolled off the trailer. But they regrouped, gathered it up for second practice, and he was second quick on the sheet. And everybody in the garage area, including some of our broadcasters, and you know who you are, asked Terry if he ran the little chicane on the backstretch there. And he said, no, I hit it. The truck's just that good. And they're very pleased with how they're running right now.
That broadcaster who asked was me, because, I mean, he picked up so much time. We sort of thought maybe, but it was he backed it up, and he's doing real well. Now, Jack Sprague, let's get an update on Sprague. He is up to 28th after falling to the rear of the field after some early contact with Kurt Busch. Now, let's go back and see if we can actually see the contact.
Well, down into turn 1, and we're not going to see it on this angle because the contact has just happened there. And Busch was actually down on the inside, and I think he was pinched down very tight on the inside. Sprague was there trying to get down to the apex of that corner and just could never get there, and Sprague got turned around.
So Sprague has radioed in, and the report from the pit is he too felt that there was contact, and so we'll find out as this race progresses how that'll affect him. It does affect him right now. Take a look at the points. He would drop to 3rd, and Jack Sprague in 3rd in the points is unheard of. He's always, except for the first year he competed, has always been in the top 2.
Well, do not count Jack Sprague out of this race. There's a long way to go, and I think anyone that underestimates A, the ability, and B, the tenacity of Jack Sprague and this team does so at their own peril, because these guys have the ability to come back.
Well, of course, we're running this weekend with the Busch Series, and his old nemesis, Ron Hornaday, who's running tomorrow in our ESPN coverage. They were having some fun, and it was like old home week now as we move back up front. That's the gap on your screen between 1st place Greg Biffle, 2nd place Terry Cook, and 3rd Kurt Busch. And then there is Carlos Contreras from Mexico, who has moved into 4th. And right behind him, Mike Wallace. So there's your top 5.
What a great run for Carlos, and he's been waiting for the road course event, no question about that.
Kurt Busch, after the big crash at Kentucky last week, he finds himself now in 5th in the points, a long way back from the top spot, 225, and he sort of has resigned himself that he ain't going to have a chance at the championship, but he is leading Rookie of the Year points.
Well, by any measure, Kurt Busch has done a brilliant job in his rookie year in the Craftsman Truck Series, and nothing but great things ahead for Kurt Busch.
Carlos Contreras in the Hot Wheels Dodge, age 29, from Mexico City, as we go on board with Mike Wallace, the Team ASE Ford. He is in 5th. That's Carlos right in front of him, and that is a fast section of this racetrack as they head down that back straightaway towards the inner loop. Carlos is doing very well right now, holding up the pride of Mexico. Stay with us when we come back. More from the Bully Hill Vineyards 150.
Are you driving?
You're looking at Ron Fellows, and this guy is really starting to find the groove. Didn't turn a lap. He just turned a lap one lap ago in no traffic at 1 minute 15 seconds. Has been picking off spots. He's now up to 15th position.
Well, you know, we talked about it before the race, before our show, and you know, my theory on Ron Fellows was give him 5 laps to get settled into this truck, figure out what it needs, what it wants to make it go fast, and he will make it go fast, and that's what he's done. And so now he's starting to get through, he's starting to get through these trucks. There's Grissom there. So Grissom is the next truck he's chasing down. Grissom in 14th, Fellows in 15th.
And they just get around Tom Boston. Let's get more from the pit lane on the number 7, Dave Burns.
I just spoke with Brian Patty, his crew chief, and they're very happy now looking at the times. Ron has not said anything to them yet. 2 reasons for that. First of all, Ron does not chatter a lot on the radio, but secondly, they think they might have a radio problem. A, they have not heard him say a single thing to them, and secondly, when he goes into the turns, sometimes they hear the motor on the truck, which means he may be depressing the button somehow with his elbow or one of the wires is crossed or something like that as he goes through the turn. So right now, radio communication may be a problem, and that could spell trouble if they have to make any adjustments on the truck. But right now, guys, it doesn't look like you need any.
Well, he's coming up to finish another lap. Greg Biffle is 25 seconds ahead of him. Take a look at the Glen Master, because here at Watkins Glen in 3 races, he has 2 victories in 97 and 99, 3 poles. He's led 42 laps. He also has a Busch Series win here, 2 Trans Am victories at the Glen. He really loves this racetrack.
He is exceptionally. Oh, we've got a truck in the rail.
That is Prescott, and he is in the rail hard. Steve Prescott from Gardner, Maine.
Right at pit in here. So there may be no yellow here because that literally was on pit lane.
Well, it must have been more smoke than damage, because from the amount of smoke and where he was, it looked like he was not going to be able to run it there. And now he's going to get back underway. No full course yellow.
Well, he literally spun it into the opening for pit lane. And so he was able to get the truck rolling again, but he must have some kind of problem.
Yeah, he's doing a little off-roading. Let's go back and see if we can see exactly what happened to him.
Coming onto the main straightaway here, and it looks like he just... Oh boy, was he ever lucky to miss the end of that pit wall there. We didn't see what led up to that, but certainly looked a little bit wide of the racing line. And he just got it spun around, got on the throttle, tried to keep spinning it, and he did miss that pit-in wall.
Well, it's only his 2nd career NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series start. First on the road course, and look at this battle going on. This is Andy Houston. There's Dennis Setzer. The 3 is Brian Reffner. The 66 is Rick Garelli. That's all for position, starting at 9th, 10th, 11th, and on.
And guess who's going to roll up behind this battle in just...
Going into the chicane, the 03.
Guess who's going to roll up behind this battle in just a few laps will be Ron Fellows.
That'll be interesting. In fact, there's Ron
Fellows
way
back there.
Back in the distance. In fact, he has gotten around Grissom. Fellows in 14th. That inner loop, we have seen some guys carrying that left front wheel all the way through there.
Well, a lot of the guys real soft on the rear springs to try and save the rear tires, and so what happens when they go to the throttle in 2nd gear with all that horsepower, it just lifts that inside front wheel.
Now look at this. Let's go back just this past lap into the first turn. Andy Houston has to take 2 wheels off. Reffner gets a little nudge, says, if you want to bang me, I'll bang you. And there goes Setzer underneath him.
Well, that didn't look that much different than Kurt Busch and Jack Sprague on lap 1. The difference being Jack Sprague ended up turned around. Jack Sprague right now continues in 22nd position, so not making his move through the field like Fellows and Ruttman.
50 laps to go. Look at all the marks on the cat and on Chevy.
Man, 12 laps in, truck looks like that.
It's a short track race, folks. We just forgot to tell these guys. There is Reffner. Boy, you talk about a team that has turned its season around. 9 top 10 finishes in a row for the Johns Manville Chevrolet. Dave, give us some more.
And Marty, with that in mind, I asked Brian Reffner if he thought Watkins Glen would be a momentum killer, a road course in the middle of those great oval finishes. And he said yes and no. Of course, they've had those great finishes, and so this does make a change for him. But Brian is not a bad road course racer. In fact, in his ASA championship year 1995, he nearly won a race at Brainerd, Minnesota. And that, just like Watkins Glen, is a very fast right-hand turning road course.
Well, he's raced here 3 other times. In 98, he finished 18th, in 97, 19th, 96, 13th. So anything in the top 10 would be a great run for him here. And this team has really been gelling well. There There you see Randy Tolsma now trying to pull up into this mix as well. Tolsma in the 12th position, trying to nail down Corelli. Stay with us. We've got a lot more coming your way from the Bully Hill Vineyards 150 at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen International, we're under our first caution of the day here on lap 16, and we'll tell you all about that. It involved Rick Corelli, but there's been a lot of off-course excursions. In fact, let's bring you up to speed so that you know exactly what has been going on here at the Bully Hill Vineyards 150. That's Randy Renfro, and that's turn 10, and he makes a nice save. A little bit later, Scott Riggs decides to do a little off-roading. He gets it back. Oh, this is his first road course race as well. Then, this was the 0-3 of Prescott going into the wall gently. It looked like it was going to be a lot harder with all the smoke, but he was able to keep going. Then there's J.D. Gibbs. He's taking a trip through the Toolies as well. Brings it right out into traffic. Luckily, nobody gets into him. Then here's what happened just a moment ago. Rick Corelli just loses it going down into the S's. That's a real fast section, but he keeps it off of the wall. Nice save. Ruined a set of Goodyears in the process, though. And there's Corelli stuck, and he is going to have to get a tow. He's on the uphill portion of the S's, and we also should point out the 93 has also gotten into the sand trap down on the inner loop. That's Wayne Edwards. Now that's Ron Fellows, and there are pit stops happening, so let's go down the pit lane and find out what's going on. Fellows has got into the stop now. They're going to go for left side tires. Remember, under caution, you can only change 2 tires at a time. So the Bully Hill Vineyards truck, the guy's doing very well. The Joe Nemechek Racing team gets him back out.
And Joe Ruttman is also in. I think Fellows will drive by him here. There he is. So Fellows and Ruttman came in. I'm very surprised that Biffle did not pit, because a lot of people were thinking get in and get fuel early if you can, because it's going to be very hard, if not impossible, to do this on one stop.
You're going to need an awful lot of help from the caution flag, and every time you predict a caution, it ends up usually biting you. On board with Joe Ruttman. So he and Ron Fellows both pit. That'll cost him a little track position, but now they can go a lot further. Stay with us. We'll take another commercial break, get you updated as to what's happening here at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen International, more racing here tomorrow in the NASCAR Full Series, and it's the Lysol 200. Guess who's got the pole? Ron Fellows didn't have any problems in qualifying today. Tim Fita was on the outside, but on his last qualifying lap, he banged the wall hard, bent the back of the truck up. We'll have to wait and see if he can get it fixed or start in a backup at the rear of the pack. That's noon tomorrow, the Lysol 200 on ESPN. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. Now, we found out that the reason Joe Ruttman and Ron Fellows pitted was they ignored the flag. It was closed, so here comes everybody else. Dave, you're in the 99 pit.
And Kurt Busch will bring it down for left side tires and fuel, 2 at a time under yellow during the Craftsman Truck Series. They will try to fill it up with fuel and then split the rest of the race. That's what most of the teams will do now. A lot of teams said they could go halfway, but that would be very, very close. So this pit stop is really good for them to have. Now the crew gets to the left side. Also in, Carlos Contreras in the Hot Wheels Dodge. He will take on right side tires and fill it full of fuel. Amy East.
Greg Biffle is going to take on right side tires and 2 cans of fuel. He has a great stop while Terry Cook's team also taking right side. Trouble on the right rear, but he finally gets down and will make it out. It looks like behind the 99 of Kurt Busch.
Now you may be asking yourself, Dave, what's going on?
Big trouble for Carlos Contreras. He may have had his foot off of the brake. The truck rolled forward off of the jack. They've now got a second jack underneath it. And when the truck did come down, you can see the rear tire man now unable to get the right rear tire back on. And big trouble for Carlos, who is having the best run of his career in the Truck Series. Now he's down. They'll get him out of here.
Frustration evident, and a tough break for that Hot Wheels Dodge team, because they were up into the 4th position when they came in for this pit stop. We'll update you on what position he falls back to when we come back to Watkins Glen International. Finishing up our first caution period tonight on RPM. Tonight with Reese Davis, we'll have truck highlights and also a preview of the Winston Cup action from Sears Point and a kart preview from Portland. We've got a gob of racing this weekend on both ESPN and ESPN2. That's tonight, 6:30 Eastern. And for more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. So you're asking yourself what's going to happen to Joe Ruttman and to Ron Fellows because they came into pit lane when they were closed? They're going to have to go to the back of the pack.
Well, I thought that was all very peculiar, and what's more peculiar is why they made the decision to come down pit road before the pits were open.
Now, the 7 truck has not gone to the rear of the field. In fact, that's Fellows trying to dive underneath. Randy McDonald, he will get a black flag from what we're being told by NASCAR officials. So this could end up being even more costly because now he's going to have to stop under the black flag while everybody is at full song. Randy McDonald, 1 lap down in 28th position. He is the lead truck there in the 3M Chevrolet.
Well, the story apparently on Joe Ruttman, it was just a little miscommunication between the team and Joe Ruttman. He didn't know the pits were closed. He came in, and so that was a miscommunication. What happened with Ron Fellows, we don't yet know.
Well, remember, Fellows' team is having problems with the radio, and he doesn't regularly run the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, so he may, too, have also forgotten about the fact that the pit lane has to be open before you come in. He's up front, but it's not going to do him any good, because this time by, he's going to see a very big black flag. Let's get more from Dave Burns.
Marty, when they come in for the stop and go, it will be because they were lined up incorrectly at the restart. They were talking that over with the NASCAR official before they went green. Brian Patty was talking to the official saying, where am I supposed to be? But by then it was too late, and that is why they're assessing the stop and go penalty at this point. As to why they came in when the pits were closed, same story as Joe Ruttman. It was a mistake. As you said, they didn't realize, and that's just the way it went. He does say now that Brian Patty says that he does have communication with his driver, so apparently that is not a problem that they thought it was going to be. Here's Fellows. He stops. He goes.
Meanwhile, Greg Biffle has been making his way around the track as he has taken over the race lead after the series of pit stops. It's 35 miles an hour all the way down through pit lane, so all this track position is just gone. In fact, there's Biffle heading in for the inner loop. That gives you an idea just how far ahead Biffle is.
Well, this is really going to hurt Ron Fellows because he had been up to 14th position when the yellow came out. So if everything had gone the way it should have, he would have been in great shape.
We've got the caution flag flying, and we're waiting for the word. It is the 93 of Wayne Edwards. Again, that's down in turn 1 area. And the snagajob.com Chevy is in the gravel for the 2nd time, and he's up to the axles. It's his 8th start in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, first on a road course. And when we saw him yesterday, he was as nervous as you could be.
Well, this truck definitely needs a little bit of help to get out of that pea gravel, but what a break for Ron Fellows.
You're right. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, now the stop and go penalty, everything will tighten up. So all that track position that he lost, he'll get right back into the line. So we'll wait to drag the 93 out of the gravel trap. We'll take another commercial break here at the Bully Hill Vineyards, 150. His only road course victory came at Portland 1 year ago when he muscled past Ron Fellows. A hometown win started a streak that would end with a record 9 victories in last year's NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series campaign, and the burnouts became the trademark of our current points leader and race leader here at Watkins Glen, Greg Biffle. Here he is behind the pace truck, and we are getting word that he may come back down pit lane.
We did overhear a conversation between Randy Goss and Greg Biffle that Biffle may come down pit lane. Remember, he took right side tires just a few laps ago, and that now he may take left side tires.
But he's still going to have to make one more stop.
He will absolutely have to stop one more time, and so it's one of those things where there'll probably be a number of guys that'll follow him down pit lane and do the tires that they didn't do. Having said that, this really falls into Ron Fellows' hands. Here he is.
So Biffle is the only one so far that has peeled off the racetrack. Amy, he's coming your way.
As soon as that yellow came out, we heard Randy Goss over the scanner say, let's come down and get the left sides and top it off with just a little bit more fuel. We also heard Greg Biffle talk about a lot of wheel hop with his truck, so he had been working with the brake bias and trying to get the right brake combination. So they are hoping that the left side tires will help him out a little bit and give him a better handling truck as the team now goes around to the left side. There'll be no chassis adjustments, just a little bit of fuel. It barely didn't even take any, remembering that they just stopped a few laps ago. Dave Burns.
Hey, Amy. They were waving to Ron Fellows as he came in. Stay out on the outside of your pit box so we can get to the right side tires. That's what they're doing. No chassis adjustments. Topping off with fuel. And Ron Fellows now waits on the right front tire to be put on. It is. He is gone. And as Jeremy, you said it, this really plays into Ron Fellows' hands. I spoke with Brian Patty just for a minute. And the strategy now is that probably what everyone else is going to do, or actually, I guess just Biffle and the guys that came in this time, they will split the rest of the race in half and maybe even make a green flag pit stop for 4 tires.
Boy, this is going to be interesting because Kurt Busch, Terry Cook, Dennis Setzer all stayed out.
Well, the interesting thing here, I think Biffle made the wrong call because he lost so much track position. If you're Ron Fellows, it's a no-brainer. You're already at the end of the longest line. Come in, get the tires. But for Biffle, big question marks.
It's Carlos Contreras right behind him. There will be your new race leader, Kurt Busch. Stay with us. Back with more at Watkins Glen. 13 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series is the 99 of Kurt Busch. The truck right in front of him is Randy McDonald. He is trying to get a lap back. Lights are out on the pace truck, and they're heading for turn number 11. So we're just about to go back to green flag racing here at Watkins Glen International in the Bully Hill Vineyards 150.
And there's that damage there on the left front of Kurt Busch's truck. That is probably turn 1, lap 1 with Jack Sprague. By the way, Jack Sprague right now.
Green flag.
Sprague in 8th position.
We're back to green flag racing here on lap 22, the end of our second caution period. And again, Randy McDonald is a lap down. Look out, Randy Tolsma. Looks like everybody made it through. On board with the Team ASE Ford, Mike Wallace. He is currently shown in 10th position. That's Tolsma right in front of him.
This is where Biffle crashed on Friday, right at the top of the hill there on the left.
Heading through the inner loop, Kurt Busch, Terry Cook, Randy McDonald a lap down, then Dennis Setzer in 3rd.
Setzer's made a nice run up into 3rd. His pit crew got him out very quickly on that first stop.
A little bit further back there is Jack Sprague, currently shown in 7th position now, trying to reel in the 60 of Andy Houston. Let's get an update on Sprague from Amy.
Well, you guys were right. You cannot count out Jack Sprague and the entire team. On lap 16, when they came down, they looked over the truck for a little damage, remembering he had contact with Kurt Busch on the first lap of the race. There was no damage. They changed left sides and 2 cans of fuel in 12 seconds. So that gave him some more track position, and he's currently running in 7th.
And he is all over the back bumper of Andy Houston in the Cat Rental Chevrolet. Got a guest in the booth. He's going to be racing tomorrow in the Busch Series race. Phil Parsons. Good to see you again, Phil. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Marty. Great to be here.
You're going to be working with us on the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at Nashville. What are your impressions so far on today's race?
Well, I was really watching Ron Fellows, obviously, with interest. I think everybody here was. So he's got an awfully good truck. I saw the truck just a minute ago as I was walking over here, and his old truck, the truck that he didn't qualify with, and there's nothing, as Jeremy said earlier, there's nothing left under that truck. So that essentially is the same truck he had, just a different body.
And the body and the chassis comes from Kurt Rohrig's old truck that Tony Raines took to 3 victories. Right now we're watching Jack Sprague as he is still in the 7th position. Andy Houston, who won at Portland, managing to hold him off. We were talking about the strategy of Greg Biffle, and I know you were making your way up, but he stopped a second time with 42 laps remaining to get left side tires. So he's got 4 fresh tires, but he's still going to have to make another stop. Can you figure it out? Because we were sort of baffled.
That's the thing. As a matter of fact, on my way over here, I stopped to talk to my crew chief, Phil Hammer, and about what we were going to try to do tomorrow as far as how far can we go and whatnot. So I'm not sure, other than maybe Greg is trying to say, hey, let me get my 4 fresh tires on now, so then if I have to do a gas and go later on, I can do it without tires, do a 3 or 4 second pit stop, because these trucks ought to be able to get close to 40 laps, I would think, on fuel.
Most of the guys were saying 30, 31 at the absolute maximum. And so that was the thing, is like, there's no question he's got to make a full stop.
Right.
And so that was the big question mark on that stop, and it's a real surprise.
On board with Joe Ruttman in 13th place. That's Biffle right behind him in 14th. They're going underneath Steve Grissom. That's the inner loop. Lap time, 6 guys broke the track record. Is it because all that concrete through the corners now, so much grip?
I think that's part of it, but also Goodyear brought a different tire here. This is the first time that we've ever been to Watkins Glen when we had the same tire on the left as we do the right. We've always had a harder left side tire and then a softer right side tire. So this time they came with the same tire all the way around, much like they do at Sears Point, and the lap time just went down incredibly.
Have you guys been having any wear problems with these softer tires?
We haven't really run long enough. I screwed up yesterday and I got off the racetrack down at the outer loop down turn 9. So we end up losing most of our practice yesterday. I got like 2 laps on the track yesterday and about 5 today. So I end up losing all my, so I don't know what kind of tire wear we're going to have.
Guys, I got to tell you, while we're talking right here, Ron Fellows has moved back into 15th position. He is slicing and dicing.
Well, look at, there is Grissom. And it was just a lap ago that we were with Biffle. Well, there's Biffle right there. So it's Biffle, Grissom, and Fellows. And so if Fellows can keep this run going, he's going to be up there racing door handle with Greg Biffle, who's trying to follow Ruttman through as they go down to the inner loop.
Take the fast lap last time by. Fellows was the quickest on the racetrack, and that's in traffic.
I'm so impressed with the way he has settled in that truck. We watched him for the first 5 laps or so, and he really took his time. But, man, once he got settled in, he's just been flying.
Oh, J.D. Gibbs has stuffed the MBNA Chevrolet hard. The nose totally smashed. He's getting it going again, and he's going to try and make it back to pit lane.
And hopefully that is back at the inner loop. Hopefully, oh, he is definitely dropping a lot of fluid on the racetrack. Stay off that apex.
And now he's up over the curb, and hopefully somebody has got the message to him. Maybe the temperature is soared. And now we've got our 3rd caution of the day. Oh, no,
boy.
now we've got fire. And that is fuel leaking out, probably from the fuel pump getting broken. The net is down. JD, it's time to make a hasty exit. Problem is he's on the inside of the inner loop. The safety crew's going to be hard to get to him there because of the fact that the trucks are still going by. Now take another look.
It's a bit of an island out there, and it looks like he just got in there too hot and, man, nosed it in that rail. Never seen anyone do that.
Boy, the officials diving underneath the guardrail to get out of the way. Yeah, we've never seen something like that before.
I've seen a lot of crashes down at the inner loop, but that's one I've never seen.
And the safety crews have got the fire out. JD's got the helmet off, and he is okay. In his 2nd start in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, it's not going to be a very good finish for JD. Stay with us. Back with more after this. Oh, way to go, guys. Rusty keeping it in the family. Kyle Petty. And in fact, I saw Rusty on SportsCenter saying, boy, I really wish I hadn't have gotten this pole. He would have liked to have seen Kyle get it, but he didn't know what the time was till after he had crossed the stripe. Bobby Labonte will start 3rd. Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon round out your top 5. We're still under our 3rd caution here, and Mike Wallace, will let you know, is currently running in the 7th position. That's Andy Houston in front of him. There is your race leader, Kurt Busch. Terry Cook with a great run going, still in 2nd place. And then in 3rd, it's Dennis Setzer, and there we are just finally getting the number 20 to get J.D. Gibbs' truck on the hook. Now, let's talk a little bit about tomorrow, Phil Parsons. How'd qualifying go for your team, and what do you expect this race to unfold with a Lysol 200?
Well, it went horribly for us. We had the problem I mentioned yesterday, and then qualifying today, I tried something different. I talked to a couple of the guys, and I tried something different than I've ever done here before. I started shifting to high gear on the short chute between 9 and 10, and it really messed my turn 10 up. So I did that for a couple laps, and then in the 3rd lap, I went back to how I'd been doing it, leaving it in 3rd gear, and really got through that part of the racetrack well. But unfortunately, spun out coming off of turn 11. So I did not finish my 3rd lap, which would have been a pretty good lap, I think. So we're going to start real far back.
Well, we've got leaders coming into the pits now. Kurt Busch is going to try this with 35 laps remaining. That's still outside the window unless you could get a few more laps of caution.
Boy, you'd probably need a bunch of laps of caution. Amy.
Yes, Kurt Busch is now coming down. They're going to give him right side tires and some fuel. They feel confident enough that they can go the rest of the way on fuel. This is what they consider to be inside their window. Dennis Setzer is also doing a pit stop, but he's taking on left sides and fuel. Remember, Dennis Setzer's proven that the Dodges are up to speed with the fuel. Dave Burns.
Steve Grissom takes on left side tires in the Petty by Dodge number 43. And also, now Marty Houston takes on right side tires. They have some trouble on the left front, pulling out some damage. They had baseball bats standing by, and now Marty stalls the truck. They give it a push. He's back underway.
So they're back out onto the racetrack. We'll sort out who's going to maintain the lead as there is Mike Dolan holding that paddle, and there is Marty Houston as he's got it refired. So Phil, we'll let you go back to work as we'll promote tomorrow's race and wish you good fortune. We'll see you also up there in the booth at Nashville.
Thank you.
And it's the Lysol 200, noon Eastern tomorrow on ESPN. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. Back with more after this. Not the guy you would first think of to consider as a great road racer, but he's had his moments on the track. Portland was one of them.
Mansell drove this thing to Topeka and finished 4th, and so Willie Shoemaker tried it a couple of times today down in the chicane and stuff. One time, hadn't touched this truck since Topeka. So this is our special road race truck.
Willie Shoemaker, does he have his horses mixed up?
Well, he's up to second, so he's doing something right.
Hey,
I think he's in great shape.
His last 2 top 5s have come on road courses. 4th at Topeka and 5th at Portland. Dave, you got more?
He told me this morning, Marty, road racing to him is about concentration. He knows that Mike Cheek and the crew have given him a truck that he doesn't have to worry about, and all he has to do is concentrate on each one of those corners as he takes the green flag now with Terry Cook leading. And if he can just concentrate on the corners, he can go out there and have fun. That's what it's about for Rick Crawford.
Guess who just moved into 2nd place? Jack Sprague went around Rick Crawford. Now remember, on the first lap, Sprague was dead last in this field. On board with Mike Wallace. He's running in 4th. That's Crawford right in front of him.
So Jack Sprague back in the thick of this race.
Heading down for the inner loop. Wallace looking to the inside of Crawford. Yes, he's got the position. Wallace was one that was carrying that left front tire through practice and qualifying. And there is the GMAC Financial Services Chevrolet. And what about Terry Cook? This guy, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, the first 8 races of the season, or the first 4 races, he was averaging 8th place. Then he went into a tailspin, and he had 1 top 10 in his last 8 races.
And look at Biffle here. Got Riggs and McDonald side by side through turn 10. And Ruttman rolls up behind Biffle, and he'll probably get a nice run off turn 11 here.
Let's go on board with Joe, the Dana Dodge. How did Biffle do that? He was on the outside of that last corner, and he still was able to pull away from Ruttman.
Well, I think Ruttman never really was able to commit to the corner, and so didn't get the runoff that he should have gotten. Here's Randy McDonald, the number 72 truck.
And McDonald cost him right there. He couldn't get underneath him quick enough.
And you can see that Ruttman actually has got some big horsepower there. Look at Sprague for the lead.
Jack Sprague into the inner loop. You've got a new race leader. Amy, you've got more?
It looks like Team Chevrolet is working towards the big picture. There was negotiations going on down here between Dennis Conner and Jerry Cook, the crew chiefs for both the 24 and the 88. Jack Sprague needs those 5 extra bonus points for the big picture. Terry said, I will let Jack lead a lap, but he better give me that lead back, because my truck's pretty good. Although both are now talking about also making green flag stops here soon, so it could play out right here on pit lane.
Well, Amy, Terry's problem is he just got passed by Mike Wallace, so he's been bumped back to 3rd. There's no way. He's got to deal with Wallace now.
Yeah, Terry Cook now back to 3rd. Wallace truck looks like it's running great here. Don't forget, Terry Cook, these guys up front do not have the fresh tires the way guys like Biffle do right now, the guys that are coming.
There's Brian Refner. He is leading that pack. There's Jimmy Hensley in the 16, Biffle in the 50, and the 14 and 86 of Crawford and Riggs. It was Scott Riggs had an off-course excursion a little bit earlier in the race. Right now, he is running a very, very excellent 8th place. Remember, this is his first road course race ever, although his mirrors are full of Joe Ruttman.
And Riggs very late on the brakes. Oh boy, I don't know about that. That's not the right line to be on. Bending it into the corner that early, and he actually hung on to it. But you could hear how early Ruttman went to the brakes, and Riggs rolled out towards the corner away from Joe Ruttman.
Let's take a look at our Dodge race recap. The leader right now, Jack Sprague, has led 1 of 30. That's his 50th career lap led here at Watkins Glen. We've had 5 lead changes, 3 cautions, our average speed of 80 miles and some change. There are the guys who have led at least lap. Biffle has the most right now, and there goes Ruttman underneath Scott Riggs.
And that was all about Riggs' position with the truck going into turn 10. He went into the corner on the inside, couldn't roll the speed through the corner, couldn't get off the corner very well, and Ruttman just drove by him.
Out of the race, Rick Corelli with a broken axle, B.A. Wilson, Ryan McGlynn, and the word we have also is that the 46 is behind the wall. Rob Morgan, who we thought might have a good run, he also has a cracked axle.
And it looks like Riggs got back around Ruttman.
Kurt Busch is into the pits. Amy?
Well, this was not part of their original plan. We originally thought that they could go the rest of the way on fuel, but they decided to come down and take on left side tires after their calculations have shown that they needed a little bit more fuel. Don't look for the 99 to come down pit lane anymore.
31 laps remaining, and that's about what everybody thought could be the outside window.
That is the absolute outside window. I mean, that's not a comfortable window. That's the outside window. So I think at this point, Kurt Busch probably hoping for some yellow flag laps, and he'll probably get those. But don't forget now, he's got to run 31 laps on those tires.
There is Jack Sprague, our current race leader. Gives you an idea just how much track position that Kurt Busch surrendered under that green flag stop.
Jack Sprague not afraid to use a little curve there. Look at Greg Biffle. Greg Biffle up to second now.
And Mike Wallace has decided to come down pit lane with 30 laps remaining. So another green flag pit stop. Amy East.
Well, it looks like the 2 truck and the 88 of Terry Kirk are going to come down pit lane. Green flag stops, assuming that both teams are going to take on the 4 fresh tires and fuel to go the rest of the way. Neither truck would have to stop as the Ultra Bad Boys now go around to the right side and fuel. They will indeed, yes, it looks like they are going to go ahead and take on 4 tires as they now go around to the right side. The 88 of Terry Cook's team doing the same. They are taking on 4 tires as they now make their way around to the right side for their 4 and fuel. Very important to get as much fuel in as possible so that you do not run out of fuel. Very, very slow, though, for the 88 truck now on that right rear. Everybody's waiting for the right rear. Terry Cook finally gets out. A very, 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 very costly slot for the 88. They had hoped to do it faster than 28.1.
Yeah, they got all tangled up with the hoses, the gas catch man. Remember, they're pitting on the right side instead of the left. Normally, we're on the other side of the car. And you may say, well, what big deal is that? Well, you just saw one good example of what practice can do for you. Here we are at the Bully Hill Vineyards 150. Jack Sprague, your leader.
Champion Jack Sprague just came down here at Watkins Glen for what is going to be his final pit stop. The team gave him 4 fresh tires, and they also noticed that Jack had some right front fender damage. He had made some contact with the guardrail. You couldn't even read the word Goodyear on any of his right side tires, but he's now got 4 fresh runs and fuel for the rest of the way. Dave Burns.
4 fresh tires and fuel for Rick Crawford. They are reporting that he has a battery problem, so sparking could be trouble for Rick for the end of the race. Also, Brian Refner came in, took on 4 tires, chassis adjustment for Refner. They loaded him with fuel. He's good to go.
Guys, the one pit stop that we saw during the commercial break, Dennis Setzer took fuel only.
Yeah, Setzer did not take tires. The other guy that stopped, Fellows, has stopped now. Refner has stopped. Setzer has stopped. Sprague has stopped. Ruttman is now in.
And Amy is there.
This team is trying to do everything possible to make up for that carburetor trouble at the beginning of the race. And so now they're going to give Joe Ruttman 4 tires and fuel, just standard here that everybody else has been doing on pit lane. The Dana Dodge hopes, though, that this will at least put them in contention. They're hoping for a top 10 by the end of the day. That would be great for their misfortunes earlier in today's race.
Well, they came in 5th position, and now they're going for the right sides as well, making sure they top off the fuel. And it looks like a pretty decent stop for the Dana Dodge crew, and he's back out underway. Red, let's set it for you as he comes back out onto the racetrack. It's Biffle up front, and there you get a good shot of him. Jimmy Hensley has moved into second, but he's got another stop in his future. And here comes Biffle. He had to stop one more time. Now's when it's going to happen. We have 27 laps to go.
Now the question is, what is Biffle going to do here for tires? He's got fresher tires than almost all of these guys. Let's go to Amy.
Well, I just got down here from leaving Joe Ruttman's pit, and the team looks as though they are set up for 4 tires and fuel. Now, I would have expected that maybe they would have taken fuel and 2 tires to try to keep the track position, knowing that they have taken 1 more pit stop than your leaders. They now work their way around to the right side. As they do, yes, indeed, to the left side. Of course, they're going backwards as to what we're used to. They have a tire loose on pit lane. They've gotten that together and go around to the right side. He's getting 4 tires and fuel for the Granger Ford.
And the time continues to run. 17 seconds, 18, and at 20.7 seconds. 8 seconds quicker than Terry Cook's stop. There is Andy Houston, who also came in during that. And let's get an update on the 60 from Dave Burns.
2 tires only for Andy Houston. Right side tires for Andy, filled it full of fuel. A quick stop for the Cat Rental Store crew.
And look at Dennis Setzer, that fuel only stop, and he is right on the back bumper of Andy Houston.
About 2 car lengths back, buddy. Lay with it.
There is Mike Wallace right behind Biffle. Then Houston and Setzer.
So it's going to take a couple of laps for this to all shake out, but you can see on the road, there is Kurt Busch is in front of his teammate, Greg Biffle. There is Setzer, who stopped for fuel 2 laps ago and took no tires.
And there is Jack Sprague closing in on Setzer. Remember, he does have fresher tires than Dennis. There is Kurt Busch. So right now, your race leader is Carlos Contreras. Jimmy Hensley, Andy Santerre, and Marty Houston running in the top 4, but they all have a pit stop yet to make. There is Carlos Contreras. For the first time in his NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series career, he has led a race. The native of Mexico City. Remember, he had that horrible pit stop where the crew just couldn't get the right combination, cost him dearly. Started 6th, came back now to take the lead here, and you know, he won the Mustang Cup down in Mexico in '98 and '99, and in Formula 3 he had over 100 races, so he knows road course racing. Now we're expecting him to make his stop. He's picked up his 5 bonus points for leading. There's Jimmy Hensley right behind him, and is he going to peel off? Yes, he's coming into pit lane. So does Jimmy Hensley right behind him in the Mobile Net 2 Chevrolet. 35 miles an hour, the speed limit down pit lane. Let's go to the 16 pit. Dave Burns is there.
And they've had a little trouble, Marty. They wanted Jimmy Hensley to stay out 1 more lap, and he came in following Carlos Contreras, so they quickly got re-prepared to give Jimmy Hensley the tires he needs. It's going to be a 4-tire stop. He came in for left side tires earlier. This will be his last stop of the day, and they are going to go for 4. Left side's going on right now. Amy East.
No tires for Carlos Contreras. He is getting 1 can of fuel and 1 can of fuel only. Crew Chief Doug George feels this will be enough for them to go the rest of the way. Has his confidence, although a little trouble there. They've got it now. Confidence in Carlos Contreras that he can race with the tires that he has on now and still have a great finish.
Well, Marty Houston has stayed out. Andy Santerre, and trouble on the Hensley pit.
They had trouble getting the right front off, Marty. They've got it back on. The right rear was all set, and Jimmy patiently waits, and now, impatient, gets out.
There's Andy Santerre in the 57. He has also stopped. He gave up his 3rd position on the racetrack. So almost everyone now has cycled through on the pit stops. And we'll have to wait and see if it shakes out. I should say Jeff Beck is still yet to pit in the 27 Hastings Filters truck. There is Hensley going back out to the war. As of right now, Carlos Contreras is officially your race leader according to NASCAR scoring, but again, we'll sort it out when we come back. Back at Watkins Glen International, the battle with Kurt Busch and Greg Biffle, and you saw Marty Houston blew the inner loop, so he had to stop and surrender the position, or else he would have been black flagged. So that is going to hurt him because he was the race leader. Now, Kurt Busch is your new race leader. We've had 7 different leaders, 9 lead changes to this point in the race.
And you know, Kurt Busch is really a pretty remarkable race car driver. You consider this is his first year in the Truck Series, only his 2nd race on a road course, Portland being the 1st race. Did not come here and test, didn't drive anything here, never seen the racetrack, and he's leading this race.
Well, let me correct myself. It was not Marty Houston that went through the chicane. It was another blue and white truck. That is Marty Houston.
and he is still the race leader. So I apologize for misleading everyone. Here comes Kurt Busch. Yes, you may glare at me, Jeremy.
You blew my whole deal there.
It was my bad, but he's still doing great. I'll tell you what, Busch was beating himself up all weekend, though, for last week in Kentucky when he went hard into the wall. There is Marty Houston now. According to our statistics, the last time that Marty pitted was at lap 27, and we've got 21 to go. Dave, what's the story on the Spear Chevy?
Well, unfortunately, Marty, your statistics match the same statistics for Freddie Fryer, the crew chief for Marty Houston. They did come in on lap 27. They would have to go 35 laps. Now, Freddie said, I don't know if we can do it yet or not. And I kind of winked at him, and he said, we need a lot of yellow. And you can better believe Marty Houston is going to stay out there and lead this thing as long as he absolutely can.
Well, for Houston, I mean, you know, another one of the Houston brothers, not known as a road course racer, but Andy won back at Portland. The 32-year-old from Hickory, North Carolina. His best run this year was 7th back at Texas, or I should say 4th at Kentucky just last week. Prior to that, it was the 7th at Texas Motor Speedway. He's put together a couple of nice runs. Now, the Killer Bees are going after each other for second spot, but Biffle's not ready to force the issue with his young 21-year-old rookie teammate. Take a look at the fast lap last time by. Busch, Biffle, Fellows, who's currently running 12th. Then Terry Cook and Randy Tolsma.
Well, Ron Fellows has not been able to get around Tolsma. Tolsma right now running, well, he actually is around him now. He was behind him for about 5 laps there. Finally gets around Tolsma. So Fellows up to 11th. But look at the pressure here from Greg Biffle.
Through the inner loop. Watch him carry that left front. Some of them were getting up 8 inches into the air. Mike Wallace and Brad Bennett, 2 of them. That's a lap time being given by Randy Goss to his driver.
And 15-4.
He's at a 16-4, but he's stuck behind center.
21-year-old Kurt Busch is getting smarter every week as he's pursued by Greg Biffle. Now, last week in Kentucky, he wrecked hard on cold tires, and he said, I must have had a dozen people come up to me and say, boy, did you learn not to drive it or overdrive it on cold tires. He said the tires came in after about 8 laps. There were only 3 laps on those cold tires when Kurt's truck went loose and slammed the turn 3 wall at Kentucky. He said, I won't do that again. I learned my lesson. Every week, guys, we see him do something a little bit smarter than the week before.
Well, and these two are reeling in our race leader, Marty Houston, because Houston ran a 1:17.5. Busch and Biffle ran a 1:16.1. That is a full 1.4 seconds that they are picking up.
Well, these guys are flying right now. I mean, they are by far the quickest trucks out on the racetrack. There's Marty Houston. Whew. And here comes Biffle.
Biffle's going to go around Kurt Busch. He'll take the 2nd spot. They make their way through the outer loop, and he opens up the margin a little bit. So Biffle may be going after Marty Houston and by himself with 19 laps to go here at Watkins Glen International in the Bully Hill Vineyards 150. Stay with us. We're heading towards the checkered flag in round 13.
Aloha, sports fans. You're looking live in the Garage Invitationals.
Forward to Watkins Glen with Mike Wallace in 4th position, qualifying for the Portland coverage of Championship Auto Racing, the Kart FedEx Series, tonight, 5:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Kart today, tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. And then following that at 7 p.m. Eastern time, it's the Freightliner G.I. Joe's 200. That's all tomorrow on ESPN2. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. And of course, the word is that Kart may be making a stop at Watkins Glen in 2001. And look at this battle. And we've got our 4th caution of the day, and it is Scott Riggs. He has taken it off down in turn number 1. He was in 16th position on the lead lap, doing exactly what he didn't want to do. He said, I just want to keep all 4 tires on the pavement.
And that's tough to do at Watkins Glen. That thing is buried.
Every year that we have run this race, guess how many cautions we've had? 4, and this is number 4 here in the year 2000. So it's going to slow everything down, and this helps a lot of folks, except Marty Houston. Take a look. Oof. The gravel's great for stopping you from going into the catch fence, but it's awful trying to get out of it, because that's what happens. You get stuck up to the axle.
Copy that.
Do you hear now?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to come help me. I think we're going to sit here for 4 or 5 laps like we did in the mud.
Well, we're going to see when the 75 pits, if it does, or will they try and gamble and go for the finish here at Watkins Glen in the Bully Hill Vineyards 150. 13 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Marty Reed along with Jeremy Dale, Dave Burns and Amy East in pit lane. And you're still looking at Scott Riggs, who is trying to get out of the gravel pit down in turn number 1. And they have finally been able to hook him up. The gentleman on your left in the blue suit had to crawl underneath, dig his way underneath to get hooked up to the rear axle so that they could make his attempt to pull him out. And it looks like they're going to get him out of there. But we are under our 4th caution of the day. We've had 7 different leaders, 8 different lead changes, and right now Marty Houston is the man who is on the point, and the big question is, will he stay out? Before we do that, let's show you what happened to Scott Riggs heading down to turn 1.
Well, and it's all kind of developed before this, because he's clearly very much out of control, never even close to the racing line, coming down to 1. And at a great rate of speed, so he might have locked those rear wheels, downshifting, he might have had a brake bias problem. But certainly solidly off the road, and the pea gravel did its job. You can see the exhaust on the right side there, so he's got it fired up. And we were eavesdropping a little bit during the break, and I think their biggest concern was some of that gravel getting in under the oil pump belt, because that can definitely happen. And you can pop an oil pump belt and seize the motor up, so...
Just shoot a little bit of gas in it, not much.
And I think their plan was to not stop for tires, but certainly now they are down a couple of laps.
And that is the 86 radio we're listening. Scott Riggs, his best finish so far. He has 2 9th place runs at Pikes Peak and at Evergreen. This is his 9th NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series start. And let's check the board right now. And he is shown in 25th, 2 laps down. Yes. Let's get some more on Scott Riggs from Dave Burns.
Marty, for fans that have been watching Scott Riggs transition from a short track racer to a super speedway racer in a Craftsman truck, know that he's been learning quickly. So before he came to the road course, they took him to a shakedown session with Dodge at the Virginia International Raceway. He also went to a Skip Barber Racing School at Gateway International, and then he said, I spent plenty of hours in front of my television playing NASCAR 2000, but even that couldn't save him from the sand trap today.
Speaking of NASCAR 2000, we have got a lot of NASCAR 2000 programming coming your way today, tomorrow, and the final installment of the new millennium. 8 o'clock Eastern tonight here on ESPN. And it's the future of what NASCAR has been and where it is going in the new millennium. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. You know, finishing up the story on Scott Riggs, he won 60 late model races, 6 of 12 that he entered just last year. The crowd is getting ready, and we're getting ready to head towards the checkered flag here at the Bully Hill Vineyards 150. Stay with us. You saw Jack Sprague just get around Andy Houston. They had some contact. Both trucks stayed on course. Marty Houston, despite the fact he's on tires that haven't been changed since lap 27. Uh-oh, Houston, maybe there was some damage done in that contact with Jack Sprague.
Knock the toe in out.
That's Andy.
That's Andy Houston. So he's definitely got not only an alignment problem, which...
He's got a right front rub.
Yeah, he's got an alignment problem, which he can feel, and the crew can see on the TV that he's got the body rub. So Andy Houston in rough shape right now.
And while all that's going on, a lead change up front.
Hit the curb with the right front. He'll knock the fender up.
Well, you can hear the tips being given by the team.
Okay, no smoke on TV. No smoke on TV. That's good.
Guys watching our satellite feed right into their pit box, so they made the comment. Now Kurt Busch is under Marty Houston. Marty on those old tires is just like a chicken waiting to be plucked.
Yeah, he'd definitely be struggling with these tires, and that doesn't help.
Oh, he's gone around. Yes, right at pit entrance, and there he saves it from going off. But that is going to ruin Marty Houston's chance for victory here at the Spears Chevrolet at Watkins Glen, and he's probably going to take it into pit lane now. Nope.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And you could see that all started when he popped that curb. He's got no tires on that truck. He's got no extra grip at all. He popped that curb, got it all unsettled, and spun it under pressure from Mike Wallace.
We are still green. This is from the bridge cam. He's going right underneath.
And look at Wallace, just sneaks through.
Nice move by Wallace to make the save. And now we've seen Marty Houston both times go through corners. Dave, what's going on in Houston's pit?
They won't have any fuel issues now, Marty. They're going to fill it full of fuel, and their NASCAR official is holding him for a penalty. And he'll change 4 tires at this time, so it looks like a 15-second penalty being assessed. At this point, they're going to drop the truck down. He waits now for the NASCAR official to count him out, and then Marty Houston will be able to get off of pit road.
And he's back underway. And let's go back to the race lead. It is the Killer Bees.
Oh, look at Andy Houston went off the road there. Andy Houston went off the road coming out of turn 10.
You're right. He's nowhere to be found back there. So Andy Houston, who was running in about the 5th position. And there he is. He's back on course now. But he's got it back on. And there is the Cat Rental Chevy.
Well, that right front still has trouble. You saw a little bit of smoke coming down towards turn 1. And you want to be careful.
Hey, just be smooth now, buddy. Be smooth and bring it home. Be smooth.
While all this has been going on, I got to tell you guys, Fellows has moved from 10th position. And he is up right there. You saw him. He's in front of Dennis Setzer in 5th.
Yeah, Fellows is not out of this race yet. There he is turning into the inner loop. There's Setzer on those older tires. Houston with that wounded truck. Contreras with his old tires.
Dennis Setzer. You mentioned the fact he has old tires on the Mopar Dodge. Let's go on board with Ron Fellows heading towards turn 10.
And with 12 to go, this is make or break time for Fellows on that last lap, about 5 seconds behind Greg Biffle. We'll check the gap this time by.
If he falls short in winning this race, he's going to kick himself for that violation on the pit lane. When he came in, when the pits were closed, he and Joe Ruttman both got penalized. There is Mike Wallace, another great run for Wallace. Jack Sprague, and there is the Bully Hill Vineyards Chevrolet of Ron Fellows.
And that last lap, he was a second faster than Jack Sprague. So if he keeps that up,
we can go by the start finish time this time. 10 to go.
He's going to close that gap down. That's Biffle's spotter.
There comes Mike Wallace. That's lap vehicle Wayne Edwards. There is
75 up ahead of you.
And now Wayne Edwards is going to play a factor in this deal. Stay out there, Wayne. You'll be fine. Nice move. The two combatants for the position continue. That's 4th and 5th. Talk about this sequence. Remember, Jack Sprague got biffed in turn 1 of the first lap, was dead last in this field. That's where Ron Fellows started. No race winners ever started outside the top 10 here at Watkins Glen. On board with Fellows. 10 laps to go. And he actually ran a quicker race lap by 0.3 of a second than our race leader. Let's get an update on Ron Fellows. Dave Burns.
Just spoke with Brian Petty, the crew chief, Marty. They tell me that the truck is pretty good. Obviously, the lap times you've been calling out prove that out. But the braking system just isn't what Ron Fellows needs it to be. Remember, they moved everything from a primary truck to a backup truck. And when they did that, they had done many different things to get the braking system just right on the primary truck. They didn't get to do all those tricks, according to Brian Petty, on this backup truck. As he goes over the curb and through the grass, guys, he's in trouble now.
With the brake situation, he just went kamikaze and went airborne.
Well, he never really had that pass finished off as he came into the inner loop. It was a bit of a desperation move. And so he had to turn the truck in, and that was the only line he could take right up over that curb. And the whole truck literally airborne.
I want to know if he has any fillings left in his teeth after that one. Crew saw that one. They weren't too thrilled with it either. He's still under power. I'm amazed he didn't rip the pan out.
Well, Ron Fellows is doing everything he can to get that truck to the front. Here's the tails away look. And look at how early he turns in. He knows he doesn't really have a hope, and he just launches that thing.
Sprague does the smart thing, just holds his line, waits for the position, cuts back underneath. Let's take another look from this angle.
And you can see he's not anywhere near alongside Jack Sprague here. He just lets it roll in, hoping that he can get through that first part of the chicane of the inner loop there. And actually did a great job to drive it through the grass and keep it on the road.
And Sprague did a great job to get around him without taking either one or both of them off course. So 9 laps to go while all that action's been going on. Greg Biffle's opened up 7/10 of a second over Busch, and there is Jeff Beck, who had a very nice run going in 16th position. He is in the gravel, and now we have a new record for cautions here at the Bully Hill Vineyards 150. This will be number 5. So Beck from Ingleside, Illinois, qualified 28th, had got up into the lead group. Here, let's take a look down into turn 1 again.
And you can see he just gets in there much too hot, never gets down to the racing line, and it's real dirty off that racing line, and just no way to keep that truck on the tarmac.
Well, the sad part about it was the truck he was going to try and pass, Tom Boston, was several laps down behind him. And so it's taken what was a very promising first NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series event and put a bit of a damper on it. And now you can see how deep you can go into the gravel. Here we are on lap 55. 62 laps will make the distance here in the Bully Hill Vineyards 150 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And this is what it looks like to ride off-road with Ron Fellows. Stay with us. We're heading for the checkered flag when we come back. One here at Watkins Glen is earning their money today. They're in the gravel again, this time pulling out the 27 of Jeff Beck. He was just cooking it too hot and got it stuck up to the axles. And we're under our 5th caution of the day. We've had 7 different leaders, 9 different lead changes. There's Greg Biffle out in front of his Killer Bee teammate Kurt Busch. A third Ford in that pack is Mike Wallace. That's where he finished last week at Kentucky. And then you go back to 4th place Jack Sprague, and Ron Fellows. If he could have made that pass, he'd be in 4th right now, but he's lucky to have a truck. Let's go back and listen to what happens here.
This is real time. You can see he's not well set up to make this pass.
Watch Sprague. Wow.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that he didn't rip the pan out from underneath the truck.
Well, I guess these trucks are tough.
Dave, what's happening down in Fellows' pit?
Well, we've just had a chance, Marty, to take a look at the Diamond Division. Crew Chief Brian Patty got the first look at that. Braking problems, no doubt, caused that, huh?
I don't know if the stat or just an eager driver, but he's just the man. I mean, it's great being accompanied with him. Our team and him, we click. And that's what's so great about it. I mean, on and off the racetrack, we run good here, at the, away from the racetrack, testing whatever. I mean, we all go out. It's a great companionship, and hopefully it works out. But top 5 from starting dead last in somebody else's truck is quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, would you guys be satisfied with that, a top 5 after everything you've been through now?
Oh, we got 7 more to go. I'll tell you later.
Never willing to give up, and Ron's wife Linda clapping as he went by this time. They're all cheering for him down here. Ron Fellows and the whole crew have done a heck of a job here today, guys.
Well, remember the job he did at the Rolex 24 when he finished 2nd overall in the closest finish ever to the Viper, and it was spectacular. Fellows has got to pick up 4 more spots, and the guy he's got to get past is our current points leader, the pole sitter for this race, Greg Biffle. And if Biffle can pull this off, he picks up a $10,000 team bonus from Craftsman for winning from the pole, and it'd be the 4th time it would happen this year. Now take a look at the championship road for Greg. In 1999, at this point, he had 2 wins, 2 poles, 5 top 5s. 3 wins this year. Now 4 poles, counting this one. 8 top 5s. Look at the laps led. 520. He's led 9 races.
I'll do it clean.
And he's first in the points coming in, whereas this time last year, he was 5th. So he is definitely making a statement that he's the man to beat.
Well, and it took them a while to kind of find their legs and get the 2000 campaign rolling, and everyone really expected them out of the box to be the team to beat, and it's taken them a while to get up to speed, but man, are they clicking now, and they have so much confidence. It's just going, it could not go better for this Roush team.
Randy Goss checking the monitor, his crew chief. And we still have lights on the pace truck. Last time the Killer Bees finished 1st and 2nd was at Pikes Peak, and there's Jeff Beck's Leatherman Hastings Ford getting pulled out of the gravel pit in turn 1. And the Killer Bees have a chance of duplicating that. There's Jack Sprague in 4th. He's going to have to deal with the 2 of Mike Wallace. Sprague, Dave Burns, you got more on Jack?
Well, last year, Marty, he finished 3rd here, and when he got done with the race, he told his crew, hey, I needed more gear here at Watkins Glen. I needed to get through the corners and come off the corners as well as I wanted to. So he went to Howard Shipwash, who is a crew member who writes everything down and keeps all the records in red, so they wouldn't forget it. Howard wrote, make changes, give him more gear this year. When they came back, they had paved the inside of the turns with that cement. And Jack said that now he had way too much, and when he got down to the end of the straightaways, he'd already spent the truck. So they went back to exactly what they had last year, and it's worked again for Sprague.
You know, while we got a brief moment, the transport drivers are going to duke it out tonight on 4-wheel racing action. Believe it or not, they're doing a charity deal. The guys who drive all the 18-wheelers, 10 of them are going to run street stocks at Tioga Motor Speedway in Oswego, New York, to raise money for the Spalding Foundation. That should be fun. A lot of the teams are going over. Now, we've got a lot more racing coming up tomorrow here, and it's going to be in the Busch Series, the Lysol 200 from Watkins Glen International, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. on the Pacific. Join us for breakfast out on the West Coast. And there is a chance of rain, and we could see our first history-making event under the wet weather. Rain tires are available noon tomorrow here at Watkins Glen. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of Go Network, go.com. We're going to go green as the lights are out on the pace truck. And Greg Biffle leads him down. Don't jump the start. Ron Horvath did a couple of years ago, and he lost the race to Joe Ruttman. And boy, look at Fellows trying to move on the inside. Did he pass before the start-finish line on the right? You have to pass on the left. Side by side, Busch and Wallace. Wallace trying to take the spot on board with Mike Wallace. Oh, beating and banging.
Kurt Busch certainly made his point there.
Couple of donut holes. They've had a couple of incidents before, the most recent being Portland.
And Sprague got back around Fellows.
It allowed Biffle to open up a nice little lead coming down the long straightaway heading towards the inner loop. And there is Ron Fellows. He's going to pull in behind Sprague this time. I don't know if anybody's got enough for Biffle with 6 laps remaining.
No, I don't think anyone does have enough for Biffle. Kurt Busch might have been the guy, but now he's scrapping with Mike Wallace. And you can see Ron Fellows, chassis-wise, is in great shape. Look at him as they come off the inner loop and down through the loop, down this long straightaway to turn 10. He's right on him. Look at Eddie Houston.
Through turn 10. You know, as you look at the 1 and the 60, remember it was Setzer and Houston that duked it out for the win on the last lap at Portland. So these guys are getting better and better at this road course racing. Fellows looking down on the inside of Jack Sprague. Can he make it stick? Yes. Here comes Sprague trying to come right back. Amy, you got more on this battle?
During the yellow flag, what we just saw happen, that pass was Jack Sprague's biggest concern. He knew he did not have anything for Mike Wallace or any of the lead trucks in front of him, but he was most worried about holding off Ron Fellows. He said he'd do it as long as he could, and that looked like to be all that he had for him right there.
Well, the other thing that hurts Jack Sprague in this deal is every position that Ron Fellows takes, that's points away from Jack Sprague in his championship chase. Look at the way it would be right now. Sprague would be 54 markers behind. But it could be a little closer if he can get back around the Bully Hill Vineyards, number 7.
And you can see, look at the gap that Fellows has opened up on Sprague in that less than a full lap there. Passed him over at turn 1. And so now Fellows catching Mike Wallace. So maybe it's not yet over for Ron Fellows, because look at that truck.
He is reeling in Mike Wallace. Now this time by, we're on board with Wallace. 4 laps to go. The margin back to Fellows is 2.2 seconds, and he ran the quickest lap at 1:14.8. That's a qualifying lap. That would have been a record-setting lap last year. So Ron Fellows has got the hammer down. Although through the S's, he's lost a little bit of ground to Mike Wallace.
Well, it looks like Mike Wallace doing everything he can to respond to this onslaught from Ron Fellows. Look at these guys behind. Houston, Setzer, Riggs, all those guys back there.
Carlos Contreras also in that group. There's Carlos. Randy Tolsma, another good, strong top 10 run going. Andy Houston as well. There's Rick Crawford again in the top 10. Crawford running in that 10th position. Terry Cook, who was running up front so long, just outside that group in 11th. There is Andy. Our winner back at Portland. Doesn't look like he's going to have a chance to back it up with his second road course victory here today. 3 laps remaining now as they come flying under the finish line bridge down the front straightaway. Fastest lap that time, Biffle turned up the wick, a 1:14.7.
Well, there's no question that Greg Biffle has got a great truck. And it would be one thing to get up behind Greg Biffle, it would be something else altogether to get by him.
Andy Houston came into this race saying, my confidence is sky high. Look at this. These guys nose to tail and valuable points. Oh, no. And Scott Riggs is taking it off course again. Down in the turn 1 area, this time not caught in the gravel pit. There is your race leader, Greg Biffle. The one thing Biffle does not want to see here is a full course caution. Remember, we do not end the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series under yellow. There would be a green-white checker situation.
And look at Fellows.
I was just going to say, Ron has caught up to Mike Wallace for 3rd position.
And you know, Wallace really in exactly the same situation that Sprague was in. And that is, if you let Ron Fellows by, you're not racing Ron Fellows for the championship, but he's certainly taking points away from you.
Wallace got a nice exit off of turn 11, and he takes the defensive line. He'll make that forward as wide as he can. On the outside, Fellows is going to try it. Hold on. Is there enough grip? Wow.
Great move by Ron Fellows.
I can't believe it. Look at Patty. He's saying, I'm breathing again. That was one fantastic pass. So Fellows is into 3rd with 2 laps remaining. That's the margin. Biffle, your pole sitter. Kurt Busch, the 21-year-old rookie. And Ron Fellows, the 40-year-old Canadian from Mississauga, just outside Toronto. He started dead last in the field.
And again, same kind of gap that he pulled out on Sprague. He's now pulled out on Mike Wallace.
You know, if he could pull this out, it would set a new Craftsman Truck Series record, because the furthest back that anybody's ever won from was Nashville in '98. Jimmy Hensley started 30th to win that race. This time by, though, white flag is going to be coming out. 1 lap remaining. Don't think there's going to be enough time. He's going to need a little bit of a rocket ship. We talked about it coming into this broadcast. Could Greg Biffle make it 3 in a row? It looks like he's got a very good chance of it. Sprague getting 2 wheels off. You saw the dust fly. There is the Grainger.com Ford. Right in this section, this is where he banged the truck hard in the rear quarter deck in the 2nd practice session. 2 hours later, this crew had put him back on the pole with a great run and some great work. And now he is just a couple of turns away from his 3rd consecutive victory. Coming through the outer loop for the final time. He stretched the lead. Greg Biffle is making another statement. It'll be his 4th win in the last 5 races. This is the first time that a man has won 3 in a row since Ron Hornaday did it in 1997. The Grainger.com Ford of Greg Biffle. Going to the last corner. Fellows tries to look underneath. The Biffle Busch Killer Bees are going to do it. They're going to sweep.
Franks is going to get a 5th.
So Biffle does it again, lengthens his points lead. Roush Racing takes another sweep, the 2nd time this year. It's Fellows, Wallace, and Sprague rounding out your top 5. And look at the celebration. Boy, do these guys deserve it. What a great run. Despite the strategy call, it paid off in the end, and we'll get to talk to him in Victory Lane when we come back. for Carlos Contreras in 8th position. We have already talked about the top 5. There's our top 15, as we had a total of 18 trucks on the lead lap. And there is the first truck down, Tom Carey in 19th. Disappointing day for Rob Morgan in 26th, and all the trucks that did not make it to the finish line. Greg Biffle has made it to victory lane. Dave Burns is there.
And he begins a celebration, Marty, the likes of which we haven't seen since 1997. That's the last time a driver won 3 in a row. That was by Ron Hornaday. Skinner did it in 1996, but in the year 2000, it's Greg Biffle congratulating his team. High fives all over for 3 in a row and a convincing victory here at Watkins Glen. Greg, question for you on the pit stop strategy. He came in 2 in a row real quick there, and we questioned whether or not you should come in so early. Did that bother you at all?
Yeah, it did. You know, I always question Randy, and anymore I just drive the truck. You know, Randy makes great decisions for us. The whole Granger team does great pit stops. We can always count on him to do a good job. So, you know, I just go with his strategy all the time. I just drive the truck. That's all I can do for him.
Bigger pressure from your teammate or for knowing Fellows was coming?
I think my teammate. You know, I didn't think Fellows had enough time, but what a heck of a driver Fellows is. You know, he was coming, and I tell you what, Kurt Busch is going to win a handful of races here soon, and he's a heck of a driver, and he put the pressure on there at the end, but I had a little bit better tire. If it was heads up, I don't know. He had a great truck today.
Big win for Greg Biffle. It's his 13th in his Craftsman Truck Series career.
Let's take a look at the updated points. He stretched the lead over Jack Sprague, and you heard Randy Goss. Sprague finished 5th. That was the first words out of his mouth. He's 54 back. Wallace dropped 79 back, and Andy Houston 129 behind Greg Biffle. And you see the rest of the top 10. Don't forget, tomorrow, the Busch Series here at Watkins Glen, the Lysol 200. That is going to be a dandy of a race. 44 cars will take the green flag at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right here from Watkins Glen, all part of the NASCAR Busch Series. Don't forget, Greg Biffle won the Craftsman bonus. That's $10,000 to the team from winning from the pole position. For Jeremy Dale and for Dave Burns and Amy East, I'm Marty Reed. Thanks so much for joining us here at Watkins Glen International Raceway. Coming up next, Major League Soccer, New York versus New Jersey, and the Colorado Rapids. Stay with us on the ESPN2. You can catch more racing from one coast to the other. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Part of the Go Network, go.com. See you tomorrow.
In the shadow